So this first topic here, equipment, we're going to actually break that down into a couple of different videos, an e-collar video and a prong collar slip lead video. But right now, we're going to talk about leash pressure. I want for every one of my owners to understand why dogs pull on a leash. Dogs pull on a leash when they feel pressure or tension on it. That is their God-given hardwiring. That is how dogs come onto this planet, is when I feel pressure or tension on my body, I have to push or pull against it. Okay? So let's think about this. You have a dog here on the end of the leash. Maybe you've been this person, right? Where you white knuckle this leash, right? And you feel like I got to have control. The harder you pull this way, the harder Fido pulls this way, right? So it becomes this tug of war. And I promise you, no matter how hard you pull, you might pull the dog's body, but mentally that dog is pulling away from you. They want to be anywhere but beside you. Now, let's talk about this a little bit further. And guys, this is really, really important. Because if an owner doesn't understand why a dog pulls on the leash, you will take a trained dog home and you'll be like, but he's still pulling on the leash. Yep. You could take my dog home. And if you make this leash tight, my dog will pull on the leash. And my dog's never been allowed to pull on a leash a day in his life. But if you put him on a tight leash, he'll pull. And so will your dog. That's why this is so incredibly important to understand the mechanics of why. So you think about sled dogs. What do? You put harnesses on sled dogs and a heavy sled, and those dogs will pull that sled for miles. Why? That's what God told them to do. When the dog was created and dogs were born and they came onto this planet, that's how their brains are wired. You will never find me telling you to put a harness on a pet dog. Harnesses were never intended or created or designed for pet dogs. You might be thinking, all right, Whitaker, why can I buy one at PetSmart then? Well, that's because the folks on the other side of the fence, they don't want you to put a prong collar on the dog. They don't want you to e-collar train the dog. They don't want you to have any control over your dog at all. That's a conversation for another time. You can buy a harness at a pet store because of that, but they were not intended for pet dogs. Harnesses are intended for working dogs, sled dogs, cart pulling dogs, service dogs, security dogs, tracking dogs, right? All of these dogs need to pull. What a harness does is it encourages pulling. So if you have a tracking dog and you're looking for a missing person, you don't know where that missing person is. You put a harness on that dog, a nice 30-foot tracking leash, you pull back on that harness, and your tracking dog is going to pull you, hopefully, to that missing person. You think about a service dog, somebody that has maybe a big Mastiff, Great Pyrenees, they have mobility issues, right? And so they put a harness on their service dog and has a nice handle on it, right? And they pull back on that harness, and what's that dog gonna do? That dog's gonna lift that person with mobility issues up out of the chair. Why? Because you put pressure on that dog's body, and what does pressure tell the dog to do? Pull. So if you have a harness for your pet dog, put it in the trash because you don't need it. It's useless. It's counterproductive to what you want. So your big takeaway from this is the reason dogs pull on a leash is when they have pressure or tension in that leash for longer than 1 full second. Of course, you're going to have times where you're going to need to put tension in the dog's leash, right? Dog goes to sniff some bunny turds, right? And you go pressure, release. 1 Mississippi, release. Any longer than 1 full second, even a trained dog will pull.